Julian, welcome back to the show. Isabella, it's your first time on the show. Welcome.
It is my first time.
How are you guys? It's been a long time.
We were just talking about how it never rains in Lima, and we're in Vancouver right now, and it's always raining.
Wait, can you put the volume up?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Because I can't hear you. I can't hear.
I'm just doing. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Wait.
One.
Part this card. Wait, go put it higher. I can't hear the man.
You can hear it. Well, he's not talking right now.
Yeah, he talked, but he talked softer.
Okay.
What? No. What? 1, 2, 3. Hold on. We're gonna.
No, he has the volume at like -10.
No, because the speakers are gonna put it in the microphone, so I always set it up. Redo it. No, we got it. Okay, intro. We'll restart. Intro.
Okay.
We're in sync.
Got it. Intro. Hold on.
Okay, focus.
I'm gonna make the intro. I'm gonna make the intro.
Yeah, you have. I think you.
Yeah. You're gonna make it. Yo, hello people of the internet. Welcome back to Bitcoiner podcast. Today we have two very special guests. Julian, welcome back to the show. Isabella, it's your first time here, so welcome guys.
Thank you for having us. Not to mention that we were like 30 minutes late because we got the times wrong.
Yeah, actually I have our dinner reservation in 30 minutes, so no, just kidding.
Wow.
No, it's fine. It's okay. Julian, the podcast is going to be in Spanish, so I hope you practice tu español.
Sí.
En Perú.
Tengo 400 días con Duolingo, más o menos.
¿En serio?
Sí. Pero
yo tengo...
hago muy bien.
El podcast está perfecto, así te puedo ayudar.
Sí,
y tú puedes decir cualquier cosa. Teamwork,
exactamente.
make the dream work.
Exactly. No, guys, it's going to be in Spanglish.
En español para practicar español.
¿Quieres intentarlo?
Sí. ¿Cuál es tu película favorita en español?
Mi película favorita en español.
Sí.
Diario de motocicleta.
¿Qué es Alfonso? No.
No recuerdo el director, debería saberlo. Vamos a ver. Lo puedo buscar rápidamente. Pero es muy vieja, es argentina.
No, la que acaba de salir, ¿cómo se llama? De estos, creo que era de Paraguay.
Walter Sayez se llama.
Walter Sayez.
Yeah.
Tú todavía no has visto, la de los uruguayos. La de la nieve. Una sociedad de nieve.
La sociedad de la nieve.
La sociedad de la nieve.
Yeah, that was good.
Épica. Creo que se ganó todos los premios Goya.
Sí, bueno, no sé si todos, pero sí.
No,
bastantes.
No todos, pues, pero algunos se ganaron. No, es que la forma que transformaron a los actores, eso creo que fue lo más impresionante de llevar a un actor. O sea, visualizarlo durante toda la película, cómo los ves al principio llenos de carne, súper atletas, y después al final todos chupados. O sea, eso debe de ser como un reto mental impresionante.
Sí, totalmente. La película es muy buena.
A Christian Bale siempre lo vemos hacer, pero nunca lo vemos durante la película. Es un proceso que es tras la cámara. Entonces, ver durante la película dices, no manches. Sí le echaron mucha ganas.
Justo estaba pensando en él, en Christian Bale, porque es de los pocos actores que he visto que puede engordar, ponerse flaco, ponerse musculoso. Pero sí. No,
es un carajo.
Sí.
Back to English.
Back to English, all right.
I got about a quarter of that.
All right. No, but hold on, because
no, pero si quieres lo que podemos hacer es, yo puedo responder en español, tú en inglés.
Oh my God. Okay, sure.
All right. Spanglish, and then my post edition will be. No, just kidding. No, it's fine.
Yeah, your Riverside AI is gonna be like, what?
No, but it's actually it's a good idea. But
¿O quieres todo en inglés?
No, let's just do it in English. We'll do it in English.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
I'll get there. Next time you have us on, I'll be fluent in Spanish. You'll see.
All right. It's a challenge accepted. You should say. Okay. All right, so let's do it in English then.
Yeah.
But hold on, because this is Isabella first time in the podcast. I always like to ask for the guests that if they can share a little bit about their background, so the people can know a little bit about you. If it is the first time that they're watching the show, listening to the show, or if they have never seen your content before. So if you can give us a little bit about your background.
In Spanish?
Up to you, como quieras.
Bueno, hola chicos, soy Isabella Santos, soy la cofundadora de GetBased, es una empresa con mi socio Julian Figueroa. Yo entré a Bitcoin en el 2021 fue accidente total. Me metí a la industria y tipo nunca salí. Me acuerdo que entré yo estudié periodismo y en ese entonces estaba trabajando para ¿cómo se dice?
Estuvo en Telemundo, chicos, seguro la vieron en Telemundo.
Sí, de hecho, sí, he trabajado en Telemundo y he trabajado en Hola TV. Pero en ese momento de mi vida, como me acababa de graduar de la universidad, era media pandemia, no tenía chamba, solo me había contratado tipo esta empresa de fulfillment y yo les estaba manejando el área del periódico en línea que se llamaba Ecom Daily News. Uh-huh. Y mi flaco me dice, oye, la conferencia de Bitcoin está en Miami, tienes que ir. Y yo dije, pucha, sí, Bitcoin, e-commerce, de una. Le digo a mi jefe, oye, está la conferencia de Bitcoin, tenemos que ir a cubrir. Y él me dijo, yo no voy a pagar $300 para que tú vayas a cubrir este evento. Tú eres una empresa de media, te tienen que dar tickets gratis. Entonces no podía conseguir los tickets gratis y dije, bueno, ¿ya qué hago? Entonces me puse a escribir a todos los speakers que estaban hablando en el 2021 para la conferencia en Wynwood y les mando un DM por Instagram y por Twitter, porque me bloqueaban en Instagram. Cuando tú mandas el mismo mensaje a muchas personas piensan que eres un robot. Entonces yo estaba mandándole a todos los speakers diciéndole, hola, ¿cómo estás? Soy Isabella, quería saber, ya que vas a estar aquí en la conferencia aquí en Miami, déjame hacerte una entrevista. Durante días nadie me respondió hasta que dije, bueno, ya, voy a hacer un coffee stand afuera porque todo el mundo tiene que entrar a la conferencia, voy a regalar café y así ya pues a ver si agarro a alguien que
yo
quiera.
Vi tu post, es verdad, no recordaba eso.
Sí. Entonces, me acuerdo que ya cuando tenía todo planeado, Alex Betsky me escribe y me dice, oye, a mí no me gusta el café, porque yo en mi post les dije, oigan, te regalo un café por una entrevista, y él me dijo, a mí no me gusta el café, y yo, bueno, ¿te gustan los donuts o las galletas? Y él, no me gusta ni el azúcar, y yo, bueno, ya, ¿qué hacemos? ¿Me puedes dar una entrevista, sí o no? Y me dice, no, pero ¿sabes qué? Hay un meetup en este lugar en Miami, vente y pues platicamos. Y yo dije, bueno, ya. Me dice, tienes que descargarte Signal, Telegram. O sea, en este entonces yo ni tenía ni idea. Yo solo usaba WhatsApp, iMessage máximo.
Sí.
Y me descargo todo esto y él me dice, oye, vente a las 7. Llego a las 6:30 porque dije, yo soy periodista, tengo que hacer mi setup, todo. Y cuando llego, me encuentro con una pareja que estaban hablando de Bitcoin. Y Alex me dice, oye, voy a llegar tarde, porque yo todavía no entendía, tipo, la cultura de las conferencias. Sí. Y me quedo hablando con ellos y empiezo a aprender un montón de la comunidad de Bitcoin. Al final llega Alex y le caí bien y me dijo, ¿sabes qué? Yo te voy a ayudar a entrar a la conferencia. Y como él era speaker, me mete a la conferencia como su media person. Entonces, yo estaba yendo, tipo, como a grabarlo a él. Y él me presenta a Rizzo de la revista de Bitcoin. Sí. Entro y fueron 3 días de tipo un crash course de Bitcoin donde él me presentó tipo a Marex y a Francis como yo era local en Miami, yo los manejaba a todos los eventos, yo era su chofer privado, entonces, y ellos me metían a todos los eventos y me hicieron tipo un crash course de Bitcoin. Entonces, cuando acaba el fin de semana, yo vendo todos mis stocks y dije, no manches, creo en esto porque las personas más inteligentes que he conocido en mi vida creen en esto. Entonces, hay algo aquí. Y me metí a Bitcoin y pasan como seis meses y yo estaba en contacto con Rizzo y me dice, oye, estamos abriendo como que un canal de YouTube para la revista de Bitcoin, si quieres tipo hacer freelance o lo que sea, aquí pues que te entrevisten, ¿no? Y yo siempre tengo la mentalidad de nunca digo que no, siempre me encanta ver todas las opciones y me entrevistaron. Y así fue como empecé. Yo empecé a hacer entrevistas en la calle de Miami, haciendo las entrevistas de How We're Still Early. Porque yo me acordaba como cuando yo recién me metí, dije, no manches, yo entré cuando estábamos en $69,000, que era un chingo. Bueno, es un chingo. Y me acordé como que, damn, I didn't know anything. Pero cuando entras a la industria, tú piensas que we're so late. O sea, no entré cuando Bitcoin costaba $10, no entré cuando Bitcoin costaba 100. Claro. Pero al fin y al cabo dije, no manches, o sea, no importa el precio, we are so early. Y por obras cosas del destino me metí y desde ahí, seguí. Y ahora pues empezamos una empresa de Get Based, literal este año, en enero, donde le hacemos el show de Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin Backstage, donde es como que Bitcoin para beginners, y tenemos el show called Wrong Thing, que ese sí es del Get Based, donde pues hablamos de cosas un poco controversiales y tenemos un poco de, pues es más como que opinion based, pero a la vez tenemos facts to back those opinions. Receipts.
Yeah, Julian. So I have a question. So you officially killed Kinetic Finance and you rebranded as a Get Based then, or how was that?
My Instagram and my Twitter is still Kinetic Finance. I can't get like at Julian on anything, so I'm just gonna keep that there. But yeah, like it's gone from me doing my thing to Isabella and then our other partner Adam, who was just in town. We had the first in-person meeting of all the minds finally 3 months into the process. And yeah, like
I had to bring Adam to the show as well.
More that guy is busy, man. That guy is busy.
Okay, so maybe in 2025 if I ask him at the end of the show.
You gotta flag him down, that's the thing. You gotta go to where he is, you know. He's
all right.
But yeah, we've been just crushing shows, and this is the thing with YouTube is you kind of have to. There are YouTubers who post like once a month, and you can get quite a few subscribers. But I still feel like the game is to really turn it into a TV thing where people are tuning in consecutively every single week, or twice a week, or once every 2 weeks. And so I couldn't do that on my own. I was doing it with the shorts, but I said, hey, we need to get some better, longer form content. I want to have more than just my face. That was always the plan, was to have it more than just my face. That's why I didn't call it Julian Figueroa from the beginning. Not also because there was a Mexican country singer named Julian Figueroa, but I rest in peace, by the way. That's pretty sad. But I always wanted other people involved, and I found my people. So now we're here, and we're making some sick stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's super dope that he says that, because many people, I feel like they think that they can do everything by themselves. And what we've realized is we work so much better together. Like if you want to elevate things to another level, you can't do it by yourself. Sometimes I see so many people that make it in a way and they forget all the people that helped them get there. Yeah. And the thing is, like, when you look back, everyone has a part in it. And our story is super, super funny because I will never forget this. When Julian came up with the idea, me and Julian actually met virtually last year in June. He DM'd me and he's like, hey, I'm going to Peru to film a doc, and I just saw that you posted a picture from Peru, that you're from Peru. Do you want to come and join, shoot the doc with me? You're Peruvian, and I'm going to Peru. I have some Peruvian roots. And how I was saying, I never like to say no. I was like, yeah, you know what?
Yeah, that's the one time that attitude paid off really well for me.
Exactly. So I was like, yeah, I'm down. I might, speaking for a Latin person, we always say yes to everything. And then at the end of the day,
That's
sometimes
true.
we're like, well, we cancel plans. So I was like, I'm not going to say no. You never know where life is going to take you. And what ended up happening was the world works in mysterious ways, and everything was lining up for me to be in Peru at that time. My family, we normally go to Peru once a year to see our family, my grandma. And this time I'm going to tell you, my grandma's birthday is in January 1st. And we weren't going to celebrate. She's really old. So we weren't going to celebrate on January 1st. We weren't going to go to Peru. So my mom was like, why don't we create a birthday party in Thanksgiving for her?
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And Julian wanted to go at the beginning of December. Like, what are the odds? Yeah. So I'm like, free flight to Peru, and I can do the doc. So I message him. I'm like, hey, when were we going to do the doc? He's like, I was thinking the first couple weeks of December. And I'm like, can we do it the first week of December? I'm going to be there. Let's do it. And he's like, you know what? Let's do it. And also, you were kind of iffy too, because we didn't have the funds to do this.
And this is the big thing is the doc, to give it some more context, there's a nonprofit called MOTIV. And so after I did my documentary on Guatemala, I was getting a lot of people reaching out to me that were doing little Bitcoin circular economies. But Mike Peterson, who you might know, who started the Bitcoin Beach circular economy, he reached out to me and he asked me about, had I ever heard of MOTIV? And I was like, no, never heard of them. And it turns out that their story is they are a nonprofit that is doing not one circular economy in Peru, not one little town, but 15 to now, I think almost 19. I could have the numbers wrong, but they keep adding new ones.
Whoa.
And they're real circular economies. They're not, we're going to make this town, we're going to go into this town, set up a school, get the merchants to accept Bitcoin, try to get tourists in there. It's like we're going out into the middle of nowhere where people don't have ATMs or cash hardly works, but they have phones and phone signal, and we're going to give them their first bank accounts. And not only are we going to give them their first bank accounts, but we're going to make them earn the Bitcoin that we give them. We're going to but teach them how to create economic goods from whatever part of the world that they're from, whether it's sewing stuff, whether it's raising and selling guinea pigs, whether it's, making shoes. And so they go to all these places, they find a community leader to kind of spearhead the project so that it works when they're not there. And then they set up real economies. And then not only is it not like an airdrop charity, they'll go in and they'll set educational things up. But eventually, once it gets going, they get the people to pay for the courses that MOTIV makes for them as well. So it becomes a real circular economy where Bitcoin comes in from them selling goods abroad. They spend the Bitcoin to take the courses in the schools, and the people that run the schools spend it within the community. And there's also little shops where you can buy your daily essentials. And so Mike was explaining this to me, not as eloquently as I explained it to you, but enough to where I was like, well, this is obviously it has to be my next film.
Yeah.
The challenge was, though, is, up to this point, I've been self-funding all this stuff. And to do by this project, it was going to be 4 different towns minimum that we would go visit rather than just one. And so I thought, well, number one, that's a big undertaking to do by myself. I did the Guatemala one with Adam. So I didn't do that one by myself. And so I needed someone to come with me. And the other thing, too, was, well, we're going to do all these interviews. My Spanish is not that great. I can't rely on Google Translate to do these interviews. And then some of the places we went, they don't even speak Spanish. It's just Quechua. So we had to have contacts to do the Quechua translations. And it's not a very written language. So you really need someone good with the oral dialect. And so all these things came together. And then I was like, okay, Isabella, all of a sudden pops up on my feed with a Peru flag, Bitcoiner, also a woman. So I think you're like a one of one for all those categories. And I was like, okay, I'll send her a DM. all great conversations and all the amazing people I've met in Bitcoin have started out with just a DM too, which has been amazing. And she said yes, and I was like, great. I didn't know if she would flake though. I'm from Vancouver, everyone's flake, so I was like, I already had like a plan B if that didn't work out. But she stuck with me through the whole thing, and then it comes to October, we're 2 months out, and I realize I can't self-fund this whole thing. Let's do a geyser fund. And for those who don't know what geyser is, it's like Kickstarter, but for Bitcoin. And we put together this nice campaign. I put together some Kickstarters before. We set out these cool goals. So it was like, if you give us, $50 worth of Bitcoin, we'll donate half of it on site. We recorded all these videos giving out Bitcoin. We'll do rough cuts for, the higher donors if they want to see the film ahead of time. And we'll do the sponsorships within the campaign. That was another idea that Mike had, is that, rather than you go to sponsors privately and negotiate deals, if somebody wants to sponsor the video, they can just do it on the Geyser page, and then they can become a part of it. No shitcoins allowed. That was the only requirement, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
We did try. We just got rejected by many people.
Yeah, because it was
really?
No
big company wanted to fund this stuff.
No, and this is a really good point, is that almost every single company that sponsored this video, none of them are, Bitcoin exchange. Well, there's a couple Bitcoin exchanges, but none of them are big companies. I would say, I'll have to look at the figures, but I don't think any of the companies that funded the documentary are worth more than 10 or 15 million. So these are not Krakens, these are not big mining companies, these are not like doing all the podcasts. These are small plebs starting Bitcoin businesses, and they saw the vision, crypto cloaks, Bitcoin trading cards, and sponsored this. And so we were really humbled by that. And it wasn't only them, it was 150 other pleb donations. I think the average donation was about like $30 to $40. And so we ended up raising a quarter of a Bitcoin, which was more than what we needed, because by the time we shot, the price of Bitcoin went way up and our costs stayed fixed in fiat. And so, we managed to do the entire thing. It was all crowdfunded. We got the first 50% of the crowdfund raise in like the first 48 hours. And then we did like another push right before the shoot. Good. Yeah, I was shocked because it's still bear market. It was 2023, right? Yeah. Bitcoin was like 26K when we launched the campaign. And so, and the whole trip, basically, I think maybe save for like one or two things, because of all these small little circular economies, I didn't touch the Sole the entire time. I was like, we paid for our hotels in Bitcoin, we paid for our food in Bitcoin, our transportation, tipped our drivers and stuff. Everything was in Bitcoin. And my God, what a journey. The biggest documentary I've ever filmed, 8 days of nonstop, multiple cameras, dying of heat stroke at times, it felt like. And it's going to be out really soon. To me, I think it's the best thing that I've ever made. I'm not even editing it. We're actually meeting with our editor today. And that's a really cool experience too we can get into, because previously, like all my other videos, it's just been like one-man army all the way through. But now as we're growing, we're learning to trust and to coach other people to do stuff in the same style and storytelling capacity. So what a whirlwind, eh?
No, it's crazy. Yeah. It's like that doc defined all odds, because my family is super old school and I'm a girl. So my mom was like, what do you mean you're gonna go and explore Bitcoin? Because the thing you have to understand, the place, my family's from Peru. We're Peruvian. And when I would tell them, hey, we're gonna go shoot in Caraballo. No, we didn't shoot in Caraballo, but that was originally the plan. We were going to go to Iquitos. We went to Iquitos. In Lima, we went to Quebrada Verde. And, these random ass towns in the middle of nowhere. And Peru is not the safest country to be in. And my family was like, what do you mean? You're going to go by yourself with a man you've never met? To stay, no. And I'm like, fam, I'm going. Like, there's no holding me back.
I'm telling you.
Like, I'm not 15 anymore. Like it, good. You don't like it, good. I'm still gonna go.
But I get Latin American moms. I know
they're so strict. And no. My dad didn't even want to look at me in the face. They're like, how are these people going to use Bitcoin? You tell me this is fake. We're never going to see you again. Because it makes sense. You have to understand. We're a third world country. These people have no bank accounts. And when you're trying to explain people that are in the middle, you know, the little curve that are up here that don't get Bitcoin, like, how are they buying Bitcoin if they don't have bank accounts? Please explain to me. So we didn't even know how to explain that. I remember being like, you really don't need a bank account to have Bitcoin. And that's one of the craziest things that we realized in the documentary and being with these people. You don't need a bank account. These people skipped that system. They skipped being banked. They skipped, you know, some of them, I don't even think they had DNAs. DNAs are like identifications because their closest bank was 2 hours away. Walking, because there's no buses that go and drop you off where they live. They're secluded communities. And how do you explain to someone that doesn't believe in Bitcoin that, yeah, this is working in the outskirts? They're actually like 20 steps ahead of you. They're 20 steps ahead of the system.
Cuando dejas tus activos digitales en un exchange o en custodia de alguien más, te expones a riesgos de terceros no deseados. A diferencia del sistema bancario tradicional, Bitcoin te permite tomar el control total de tus fondos utilizando tus propias claves privadas. Esto te permite ser soberano y esencialmente tu propio banco. Al tomar el control de tus Bitcoin, puedes evitar riesgos innecesarios de terceros. Almacenar tus Bitcoin en custodia de terceros como los exchanges puede exponerte a ataques de actores malintencionados, gobiernos o estafadores que lo único que quieren es apoderarse de tu dinero. El proceso de autocustodia puede parecer abrumador al principio, pero afortunadamente Blockstream Jade Wallet hace que sea súper fácil custodiar tus activos. Las billeteras de hardware son dispositivos que almacenan de forma segura las claves privadas de tus bitcoins y activos de Liquid sin conexión a internet. Las billeteras de hardware aumentan la seguridad de tu billetera porque tus claves privadas se almacenan en un dispositivo especializado que no está siempre conectado al internet. Como te he dicho antes, mantener tus claves almacenadas en un dispositivo en línea puede exponerte a factores adicionales de ataque, por lo que se recomienda usar una billetera de hardware al almacenar grandes cantidades de Bitcoin durante largos periodos de tiempo. Jade es una billetera de hardware no custodial para Bitcoins y Liquid que ofrece opciones de firma simple y firmas múltiples. Yo personalmente lo utilizo para almacenar mis Bitcoins, ya que me siento mucho más seguro manteniendo mis Bitcoins en una billetera fría que en una almacenada, por ejemplo, en mi teléfono. Si estás pensando en adquirir uno para ti, no olvides utilizar el código de descuento de nuestro show, BitCorner Podcast. De esta forma estarás apoyando directamente el show y además obtendrás un 10% de descuento para la compra de tu billetera fría.
Well, we had a really
just want to, before continue, Julian, how did they trade or pay for the things before with the fiat money that they have, like their own?
Well, they have cash. And this is very interesting because at the same time, me and Julian would be like, these people, they didn't have phones before MOTIV came and helped them. And we're like trying to see how they all work. But the thing is, the pandemic happened. When the pandemic happened, the government installed a ton of towers for, you know, to do the schools online because all the schools were shut down. So in these areas where before they didn't have any signal whatsoever, now they had signal.
Got it.
So Valen finds these communities and he's like, okay, there's cell service here. So he realized, okay, I can tell them. He actually told them, all right, I need you all to find like 200 soles so you can buy your own phones and find, you know, I'll help you be a sovereign individual. Obviously, he didn't say it like that. He has his own orange pill ways. My hat, how do you say it? Like, hat tip, you know, like good for, he's the best human being out there. So Valen goes to these people and encourages them because his mentality is, I'm not going to give you anything. I'm going to teach you how to fish. I'm not going to give you the fish.
Proof of work.
Yeah, so he's like, no, but that's the best approach, actually.
100%. And you can see it. That's why all these communities are working so well. He teaches them how to fish. So he taught them, he's like, okay, if you're serious about wanting me to help you, I need you to find enough money to buy a phone so we can get this started. So they each raised like 200 soles But at this, they were like, these are societies that grow their own crops. They have their cattle, their animals. So they end up, they sold the cow for 200 soles. I'm making this up. I don't know how much or what they did to get the funds.
I'm looking for that.
Yeah. But they ended up raising enough money, and each of these women ended up getting their phone.
Around $50.
Yeah.
More or less. Yeah.
Well, nowadays you can get a phone really cheap. And that's how they all ended up getting their phone. So he gets all of them set up and then starts teaching them how to, create these circular economies. But the cool thing awesome. About MOTIV, they use Bitcoin as a tool for freedom. Bitcoin is not the main purpose in these circular economies. It's just one of the add-ons that he creates. He teaches them how to be self-sufficient. And that is what makes everything that much better. And you realize how powerful Bitcoin is.
And it goes beyond like the self-sufficiency from the resource perspective. Because when we think of self-sufficiency, like in the West, it's like, can you grow your own food? Can you take care of your body? Are you good financially? But for them, because they have these really troubled communities, it's like the mental and the spiritual support when it comes to sovereignty that needs to be taught at times. Like some of the women that we talk to there are so used to the men running off and having like 3 other families. And it just destroys that sense of self-worth. They're stuck with their children. There's some really dark stuff where some of the women are so poor in some of these jungle regions that they basically sell their kids into slavery. It goes against, their belief in God and all these other moral things that we think are inherent in people because it's just survival for them. And so sometimes when MOTIV goes in, like, you got the Bitcoin as an add-on, but you have to start at like the base layer and just sometimes teach people, look, it's not right to sell your children so that you can have food on the plate. You have to step up and do the work and create economic opportunity for yourself. Your children have to go to school. And we think these things are just so inherent, like every parent would understand that. But when you go through generations and generations and generations of this in Peru, this like despotism, it needs to be untaught, and it's really sad. The governments don't seem to care about these people. I don't know about you, but like I feel when it comes to politics everywhere, it's like the government cares about the city and the city people and the poverty in the city and the rich people in the city. But when you get out into the suburbs and the really rural areas in Peru, it's brutal. There's no one looking out for these people. They don't have that sense of leadership among themselves too. And the big thing that MOTIV does is, look, if you go in like the US has done with Haiti and you just airdrop money, the money will be stolen and it will be looted and there will be no change. It's one of the biggest problems with charity right now is people think you can just fire hose money and solve problems. The same way the Federal Reserve thinks that they do the same thing. You need leaders in these communities. And so the first thing that they do before they decide we're going to help this community out is they go and they look for these specific people. And we met them. We met Franco, we met Moises in Cusco, Pedro in Juanguera. You find these people who care about their community, but they feel like they don't have the resources or the tools to do things with. And you just give them that push and you give them the tools, and they're the ones who spearhead and carry these programs forward. And it's amazing to see. And I really hope that model, what they're doing there expands much further than just Peru, because it's really inspiring.
But the thing with this, and specifically in Iquitos is this landlocked that has no clean water. And when we were talking to Franco and trying to be like, how do they not have clean water? The government can't even help because they're run by gangs. So we forget that there comes a time where the government can't even help the people there. And the reason why they don't even want to give them clean water is because they want to keep them brainwashed. They want to keep them under the control of the gangs. Because Iquitos is this, I'm not trying to bash on my country. This is just the reality of the situation. There are these cities where they're so poor that, and it comes from generations, and what we noticed was the past generations don't want the new generations to succeed. Their mentality is, if I had a shitty upbringing, you're going to have a shitty upbringing. If I didn't go to school, you're not going to go to school, and you're going to stay, and you're going to raise the cattle, you're going to watch the grass, you're going to watch, our farm, and that's what you're going to do. And very, very, very few end up escaping that and going to school, studying. It gives you that mentality. It brings it back to knowledge is power. Knowledge does help you escape, because when you're there, these people don't know how to read. They, like Julian was saying, most of them don't even know how to speak Spanish. And they keep the other generations oppressed because they don't want them to succeed. And what I'm going with this is, in Iquitos, I was just really impacted by how they don't have clean water. Franco was telling us how the kids have gone immune to drinking the water from the rain, that it falls down and you see it on the street. That's their clean water.
Yeah, that's how polluted the Amazon River is. That rainfall into the gutter is cleaner drinking water for them than scooping out of the river.
Because in the river, they do their necessities and they use that water to shower. Then, no. It's heartbreaking, because there's these parts, we didn't even get to see the worst parts. There was this city that we were supposed to go called Rosario?
Or Belen.
Oh, Belen. It was called Belen. And it's a city where the women prostitute themselves for 15 soles. 15 soles is equivalent to $3. And that's what the gangs there want to do. I don't even know if they're gangs. What would they be called? I don't even know.
I mean, if you think about it, like, gangs are just a form of government at the end.
Yeah.
Right? They collect taxes, they make the rules, and they're like more militant than the actual government, and they don't operate under a judicial system. But they're just supplanting government where government fails. Right?
And it's hard to help these people. That's why I was like, why doesn't the government just give them clean water? And it goes to the control of the gangs. They want their people to rely and depend on them. And that's why you have the moms renting out their kids so they can get 15 soles a day, so they can have the meals for them. And then the kids are out rented to other people so they can collect money by selling candy. So when you go to Peru and you see these kids that are with, some parental figure outside in the streets wandering, asking you to buy some lollipops for a couple soles, that is probably not even their kid. They just rented out the kid to put it to work so they can bring money to another person, and they're just paying 20, 15 soles to their parents, and the mom and dad, I don't even know where they are.
And there's another layer.
Hold on, hold on before you continue, Julian. I just want to pause on that and double click, because I'm so impactful with what you're saying, and I think are the type of conversations that we need to talk about, because we don't say that often. We get used to our normal life. And what I'm so amazed what you're talking, that Latin America, it's big, but we have really similar stories, because everything that you're telling to me, I have seen it and living in El Salvador. So it's really impactful. It's so sad that how our societies came to this, right? So yeah, continue, Julian. I had so many things to say, but I prefer that you can.
The thing, we escape from it, but it's still going on. We don't see it on our day to day, and that's
why it's important to tell these things. Yeah,
people think it's not happening. People, like the movie The Sound of Freedom, you see it on a movie screen, but you don't actually realize that this is what people are living on a day-to-day basis. And this information is being not kept from us, but it's not something that we see. We go on the news and we're looking at, these political people, Trump is on the news all the time. Biden, it's a freaking circus. When we need to put our energy and focus on how to help these people that are honestly secluded from society. Very
Absolutely.
few people get to see this and get to experience this. And a lot of tourists, let's say they do go to Lima, they do go to Peru, they're like, oh, but the poverty, yeah, it's super bad. But the thing is, they're looking at it at the superficial level because they're not even going in deeper. You know, when you go as a tourist, you go to all the nice areas. And obviously our countries are so poor that, yeah, you can still see the poverty around there. But when you go to where these people live, there's people that don't even have a roof over their head. Their bathroom is honestly the ground. We went to a house where in Quebrada Verde, you went to the bathroom, and I remember Julian saying, like, this is where they shower.
Yeah, they had a toilet bowl, but like it wasn't connected to a septic system. I don't know where. You basically just took rainwater and then you just poured it into the bowl, and I couldn't believe it.
Well, yeah.
Because to me, like, and maybe this comes from like a place of privilege, but like I live in North America, and I've built, my little homestead. But when you want to build something, it's you go and you buy the wood, or you go to the restore and you buy throwaway plumbing, and then you just build your thing. Yeah. And even today, like, I still can't figure out, like, if they wanted to have a toilet, like, how difficult is it to find, in Quebrada Verde, they're 2 hours away from Lima. How difficult is it to build a toilet? And when I was down there, I was like, it's crazy. Like, there's got to be a man that can step up and make this work. Then I realized, like, it's just getting some of the stuff out there is extremely difficult. You have to have the sovereignty of having a vehicle if you want to do any type of construction or plumbing work. And then you have to have the technical skill. Thankfully now the technical barrier to entry is so much lower because you can just YouTube all the tutorials. But, just affording it and sourcing out some of the materials you need to build a bathroom, it's not freaking easy in some of these places.
But the thing is, you say YouTube, like they can go in, we think, oh, yeah, just YouTube, Google it.
Yeah.
They don't know
they
how
don't know
read.
what, yeah.
So,
I don't know what even is YouTube, I think, maybe.
No, because that's the thing. They don't know how to read or write. So your people are expecting them like, oh, why don't they look it up? They can't. Because I'm still in shock because I'm very privileged to have grown up somewhere where I learned how to read, I learned how to write, and you automatically think everybody knows how to read or write.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And when we were filming and being with these people, I remember looking at them and they were trying to send each other, lightning transactions. And they would look at the phone and they would take forever, because they couldn't read. They couldn't read.
Yeah.
And you automatically think, but it's not that hard. Why don't they just, YouTube it so they can see a video of it? You need to learn how to write and the search in YouTube. Hey, how do I, transfer money? How do I learn how to do this? But if they don't know the basics, how do you expect them to? The reason that they communicate, because I know people are going to wonder, yeah, but how do they use their phone? Well, obviously they either call each other or they use WhatsApp. In WhatsApp, they use the audio and they don't text.
Yeah.
I remember looking at one of their conversations and they're all voice notes.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. No, but you know that what you were saying, that I'm still thinking about what you mentioned, that these kids probably are selling lollipops, and that the person that is not, probably they're not their parents. I remember that when I was in school, probably Julian know this street, Los Próceres. Have you been there? Well, it's a big long street in El Salvador. There used to be people, actually kids, selling candies and lollipops and whatever. And I remember that I had a conversation with my dad, because thank God, that's one of the things that I thank the most to my dad, is that when I was a kid, he always told me, like, we're not rich, we're middle class, but he always told me, like, we're really privileged because of the situation that El Salvador was at that time, right? So he told me, like, look, and I remember that he told me the same thing, that probably these kids, and you see these grown-ups, they probably are not their parents. And I remember that he told me exactly the same thing that you're telling me. Like probably they're renting these kids to sell something, and yeah. And I remember that there's a lot of these kind of stories that we don't see because we don't have the context of Latin America. And again, as you mentioned, we don't see that stuff in the news because they don't care. They just care about the media, right? So I think it's a great job what you're doing, guys, by making this film. That's the message, right? To go beyond of what's not seen. So yeah, congrats on that.
And to think about it from like an outside perspective, like
mm-hmm.
I don't know, I don't talk to a lot of people who aren't into Bitcoin anymore. I kind of like after COVID, I sort of lost all my not Bitcoin friends because of, paranoia and replaced with Bitcoiners. So my worldview of like, what does the rest of the world think about Bitcoin? I always have to like push myself to find those opinions now because I just naturally do not get that feedback from my group. Like my dad's like pretty hardcore into Bitcoin now. My mom gets it pretty well. My girlfriend's been stacking sats for like 5 years now, so she gets it. And everyone I know is a Bitcoiner. And so one of the perceptions still, and I have to explain this to people who message me once they see my films or once they're curious about Bitcoin, is this not just like a rich person's thing? Like, normal people don't talk about stocks. Normal people don't talk about gold. Normal people don't talk about Bitcoin. Why? Because they can't afford it. They don't have savings. Why would I want to learn about Bitcoin if I don't have savings, right? Like there's no use for it for me. And I used to kind of agree, like, yeah, like I'm not going to go to a homeless guy in Vancouver and talk to him about Bitcoin. But these documentaries and going to these places, they throw away this argument that Bitcoin can't be used as a medium of exchange completely. And that was my biggest takeaway from going there, is that we talk about this store of value first, then medium of exchange. Store of value first, then medium of exchange. But it's like if we've been given this gift of this tool that has zero censorship. Zero censorship, in my opinion, is a much more important tool for medium of exchange than it is for store of value. The government will be able to censor this store of value of Bitcoin at some point because they can basically 6102 it. And, unless you hold your keys and unless you have a completely untraceable address, you samurai walleted, that doesn't exist anymore. And you've done all this stuff, like pretty damn sure at some point the government can find out that you own some Bitcoin. And then it's a $5 wrench attack or a threat to go to jail that takes away that censorship resistance that we're all clamoring about. When it comes to transactions, they can't stop that. They cannot stop you from sending it from A to B. There's no way where they can just pull it out of the mempool and be like, ha, I got the Bitcoin. So as long as you can sign it and send it, you're good. And even if you can't sign it and send it because you don't own your own keys, you can set up the variety of the Lightning wallets that they have, custodial or non-custodial, and you can have a bank account in your pocket. And so that makes it so much more interesting to me than just this tool that a lot of people think outside the Bitcoin space is just a way for rich people to acquire more wealth. And that's what I learned from this whole thing, is that the people in Peru have not read the Bitcoin standard. They don't even know what inflation is. They don't know about the history of the peso or the Sole being devalued probably like 30 years ago. That's like been wiped from people's collective consciousness. They just want a way to send and transfer value. And all the people in the comments section are like, oh, you're using custodial this and you're using custodial that. And it's like, would you rather these people not have anything? And like, we're talking about risks of rug pull. That's the argument here, that like, oh, if you use a custodial wallet, like, Blink will steal your Bitcoin, or Wallet of Satoshi will steal your Bitcoin, or Primal, or whatever. It's like, guys, these people are not moving more than like $20 to $50. Like if they get rug pulled, they just start a new Lightning wallet. There's no such thing as savings culture, even with all the Bitcoin coming down there. That is still a long ways away for most people down there. They just
they need to survive.
A medium of exchange that freaking works. And it works beautifully down there. Custodial to custodial Lightning, there's trade-offs. You don't own your own keys. You don't have full sovereignty. But if we're talking about strictly a tool for medium of exchange, there is no second best. Blink to Blink, Blink to Wallet Satoshi, Coinos to Coinos. Interchange these Lightning wallets. It works flawlessly. Lightning has that in the bag. If you're not running your own node, someone else is doing it. Yes, you rely on that counterparty. But look, that is a trade-off worth having in order for you to have your own bank and your own banking features. And I am such a like sovereignty maxi. I'm such a not your keys, not your coins guy. But for people there, just having this for the first time ever, let them have it and let them flourish from it, man.
Yeah.
And one thing that I wanted to highlight, how you were talking about the reality of these third world countries. That's why we need to support companies, not companies, because it's not a company, the charities like MOTIV, because they're the ones doing the hard work out there. I will never stop talking about MOTIV because they're the ones that need help, and they need help from us. They need help from the people that are in first world countries, chilling in their bedrooms, training, whatever they're doing, being on, Twitter, talking shit about the people that are using Lightning. Shut up and go help those companies, because they're the charities, because they're the ones that are out there doing the hard work. I can't tell you enough how many times Valen has told us a lot of times how that might be, the last month that they have funds to help these communities, because obviously they need help from other people to make it happen. And I have never seen a charity do what they're doing. They are not just giving them food. They're going out there, creating schools, building these communities where they're helping the mothers raise the kids with values. They're teaching them how to become a mom, how to, raise their kids, how to teach them how to be human beings, because we forget that they that live on the outskirts don't have the best moral compass. They come from families where most of them have been abused, beat up, violated by their family members or their people, because there's a huge thing called the male. I'm not hating on, female or male, whatever it is. This is just the reality of how it is in these countries. The male, the husband, tends to drink a lot in these cultures. So the female is left to, whether it's the daughter or the mom, they're the ones that have to find the work, and they're obligated to give their money to their husband or to their fathers. So they don't even see the money. And with Bitcoin, they're teaching them how to save their own money, how to have value, and how to keep it. Because if they don't see the physical soles, they don't have to give it to their parents or give it to their husbands that are out there spending the money, drinking tons of beers, getting drunk out of their mind, while the mom is left to cook, clean, work, take care of the kids. And sometimes we forget that that is someone's reality. So you have this amazing charity called MOTIV that is helping these women how to escape from that. And the coolest part is they're using Bitcoin as a tool for freedom, not just, this is freedom money, take it. No, it's just a tool on top of the greatest things that they're teaching them. They're teaching them how to sew, how to bake, how to create their own business if they need to, so they don't rely on anybody else. And that is the core of Bitcoin. If you read, the Bitcoin standard, the Bitcoin white paper, you realize you're giving power back to yourself eventually. And that's what they're doing. They're out there preaching. They're out there sowing what they preach. And we forget, by being in the computer, because we're all sometimes talking so much shit and we see what we see on the screens, that we forget that there are people helping the world, and we need to help them do that.
Yeah. And I don't want to pretend it's like a zero-sum game when it comes to what people donate their money to. But we recently just saw the COPA trial with Craig Wright and all the people that Craig Wright sued, and between Peter McCormack and Hodlnaut and who knows God else, these guys have raised dozens of Bitcoin to help the lawsuits of two people. MOTIV is doing they're working on a fraction of that to bank thousands of people in Peru. So you want a good cause to allocate your Bitcoin to, maybe the not spend 16 Bitcoin on a buy Bitcoin sign, give a fraction of that to MOTIV, and you'll see thousands of people benefit from that. They will get educations, they will get good food, they will get good drinking water, and when that donation money is spent, it's not like they need the next round immediately because they're building and they're teaching these people how to fish as well, right? And it's the only charity I've seen. You know, I know that the charities work and they do educational initiatives, but
I've never seen one like that.
MOTIV is like Valley made these guys buy their own phones. Like, it's not that expensive to go and buy, you know, $50 phones and give them out. Like, I'm sure they can, you know, scrounge up a couple $1,000s, but that wasn't the attitude. Yeah. The attitude was like, this is going to be the tool that you use every single day. Find something in your town and make it and frickin' sell it, and then you'll get the phone, right? And that attitude, you plant that seed, you start them early like that, that is what makes these projects last into the future. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, because in the end, that's the most valuable thing, right? That's not just start using Bitcoin, that they can, as you mentioned, to empower those people so they can have a way to continue with their life, that actually have a daily basis, not saying that, as you said, like not saving money, but just to use it as a tool to exchange. At the end, Bitcoin money is the way to exchange for value, right? So that's what Bitcoin makes super valuable. Talking one thing about Peru, actually this question is sponsored by my roommate, my flatmate. He wanted to ask you, Isabella, about a little bit about context about Peru. So if you can tell us, like, which sectors are the most open to use Bitcoin in Peru? What are like the biggest drivers, or how's the adoption in general there?
So the adoption by the normal people, like, let's say you go to Lima, they don't see it. They don't understand. They, like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, they don't even understand how people in the outskirts of Peru are using Bitcoin. They think that, Bitcoin, internet money, you know, I can't afford one, or why would I need to use it? They still have not fully grasped the concept of Bitcoin. And that's why we are actually extremely lucky to have, Valen, that's not even from Peru. Valen is from Romania. He escaped the communism there, moved to Argentina, and by the grace of God, ended up in Peru. So this man that's not even Peruvian or Hispanic is making such a huge impact in such a country, and seeing what he's doing there and, the communities that he's touched. He, like you were saying, there's 19 cities that he's gone to and helped, adopt Bitcoin, because we need a solution and Bitcoin is hope. So no one knows what's going to happen in the next 100 years. I don't know what needs to happen for Lima to adopt Bitcoin, because especially having a country run by 5 presidents, that all 5 presidents have been to prison, it's kind of scary. And I don't get how they don't fully grasp it. They still believe in the American dream. People in Peru. The thing is, Peru's not really, we don't have that bad of an inflation, because the Peru, the reserve, it's connected to the dollar. And seeing that, I think they believe that, I don't know, America, I don't know what I'm trying to go with this.
Inflation is like, it's not especially high in Peru. So they're not having dinner side conversations about, like, how do we protect our wealth? And I think that's just like a Latin American thing too, right? Like, as soon as you leave the West, people are not, they don't get pensions or 401ks. The savings is I build a second level on my house, or if I'm a store owner, I stock up on inventory and I live for the moment, right? Like there's no grand plan to pass on like a massive inheritance. Now, if you're in the upper class, maybe, but
yeah.
When it comes to adoption in Peru, like there's the towns that MOTIV operates in. Those are not like tourist destinations. Like if by chance you're driving around Peru, you want a little detour and like, you're like a random person, you come into one of these towns and want to spend Bitcoin, they'll just look at you like, that's weird, I guess. Like, I don't know why you came all the way out here to spend Bitcoin, but like, we'll take it. Cusco is kind of starting a little bit. I think there's probably like a handful of places in Cusco. That's what part of what MOTIV's trying to do is a bit of a tourism play, because they need to operate that. It's a nonprofit, but they need to operate it like a business in the sense that they need to start getting out to other businesses and explaining the value of Bitcoin from a tourism perspective, because we're in this moment of time where if you accept Bitcoin and a Bitcoiner is in your neighborhood, they will go and they will support you. Like I've done that. We just filmed a video in Vancouver. We went to 6 stores in one day to spend Bitcoin. And, I'm only doing that because I love Bitcoin and I want to see more people adopt it. Right. So, wherever the Bitcoiners are, they're going to do that. They're going to seek out those opportunities. And Cusco is one of those places, like everyone comes from around the world to go to Machu Picchu. So they're primed to have some businesses that accept Bitcoin, because inevitably you're going to get a Bitcoiner there.
But what we did notice was a lot of the people there in Cusco, they were Bitcoiners, but they don't use Bitcoin. They have the Bitcoin mentality. They have that sovereign viewpoint. Is that correct? Yeah,
they appreciate
freedom. And they want an escape, but they don't know Bitcoin exists. So it was really refreshing to see that. They're like Bitcoiners in disguise in a way. They have the mentality, but I do think that, how do you call the graph chart?
Oh, the mid-curve meme?
The mid-curve meme. That is so true. And not just in Peru, in all over the world, how the geniuses get it, and the people that, they're like, hey,
might be illiterate
get it. But the people that are in the middle don't get it.
It's like they overthink it, but they don't want to do the work to get over the hump. That's the problem.
Yeah,
most people are like, I don't want to put in the work yet. I don't get it. I don't get how Bitcoin benefits me. Why would I want to spend a dozen plus hours learning about it? And I get that. Like imagine if Bitcoin didn't exist, right? Like, how are you going to convince me to learn about stocks? Like, do I really need stocks? I have just a savings account and 5%, right? But I found Bitcoin and I realized I needed it after a while. And it's the same, every Bitcoiner I've spoke to in the last 5 years, like, why did you get into Bitcoin? Well, COVID, the money printing, and the convoy, right? So everyone needs these call to actions to finally feel like there's a reason to start learning about it. And I'm always shocked when I meet a Bitcoiner who's like, I just stumbled upon it in 2019 or 23 and now I'm interested. It's just like, wow, you didn't have to get like shoved into it. But that's where Peru's at, is like, they don't have that big impetus yet. And I think most countries don't have that, like, my money's being censored impetus to start learning about Bitcoin yet. But look, we all know it's coming. Look what's going on in Brazil right now. They're trying to ban Twitter. There's going to be a big lawsuit there. Freedom of speech. You're seeing
they want to ban Twitter? I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, it's insane. And like you see this with Nostr. You see this with open protocols all the time. As soon as there's a crackdown on whether it be speech or transaction, the search volume for these things goes through the roof, right? Like right now, Brazil, Nostr searches are going through the roof, right? Is it because there's a Nostr marketing exec pushing this thing? No, it's because people's natural curiosity leads them to solutions. And right now, Bitcoin is not the solution everyone is looking for, or they might not know that they're looking for because they're not sure what the problem is yet. But the problem, presents itself in mysterious and sudden ways, and it'll keep happening. And we just got to make sure that we're there and that people get the right information when they do look for the information that they need. So,
yeah. In the end, I think what? No. Go ahead, Isabella. That I think that I get what you're trying to say, because it's happened the same here in the EU. The countries here, I think that they are very spoiled because they have this perception that they have the backup of the the European central bank, right? So they feel that they're very backed with the euro. So that's why they simply don't care about Bitcoin, because they are sure that even there is inflation somehow, but they have this big EU that one country backs another. But in the end, I think because inflation goes super slow, that's why they don't say it. But yeah, something's coming, right? So that's what I wanted to say.
You see countries like Venezuela, Argentina, Cuba that are seeking help, and they stumble upon Bitcoin and they realize how much we need this. So when you look at these countries and you talk to the people that are into Bitcoin and they believe in Bitcoin that are from these countries, they found the solution because they were pushed to the limit. It goes to what you were saying. So it's either something like that is going to happen where it makes you wake up, and sometimes, it goes back to being an immigrant. You don't leave your home country because you want to. You leave because you're being pushed to leave your country. Yeah. And I think sometimes we forget that. All the immigrants that are in all over the world are there because they could not survive in their own country. One of the worst things that you can do is leave the country that you're born in, because you have your whole family there. Everyone loves their country. Everyone's proud from where they're from, and you want to be. But the thing is, we're pushed to an extent where we can't be there anymore. And I think eventually Bitcoin is like how immigration was back in the day. You're being pushed to find and seek a better option.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's only one bearish thesis for Bitcoin, and it's a thesis, which means you have to believe the other part of it. And that's if you think that governments are, over the long term, going to get more responsible, more freedom focused, and more democratic and more accountable, then you should be bearish on Bitcoin. But if you have a brain and you think that's not going to happen, and that they're going to continue thirsting over power as they have for all of eternity, you have to be bullish on Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is the counter, it's the check to all of that stuff.
Well, some people do still believe that the government wants their best interest in mind.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Politicians individually might, right? But the apparatus is designed to extract always from the people.
Absolutely.
And we're being stripped from our freedoms every single day. I think we forget that. I used to live in America, and America is supposed to be, a freedom country.
Yeah.
You better be careful. They might take away your...
There's nothing free about it.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They'll take away your residence.
We took that nickname to El Salvador. I
can't even take away from my American passport. I have to give them half of my wealth. You know what I mean? Like, we're not free anymore. And that's a sad truth, but that's something that people need to realize. And stop being so oblivious. And if they don't want to see, that's fine. But they're going to wake up eventually. Our freedom is being stripped away from us in the slowest, slightest.
It's called boiling the frog, right? You put the frog in the water, he doesn't notice it boils, and then he's dead.
And that's what's going to happen. There's cameras everywhere. We're filtered everywhere.
Surveillance capitalism.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up, because Julian says that they need to go. You need to go, guys. So first, where can people find you, and when is going to be released? And then I have a final question for you guys.
At Get Base TV, baby. Middle of next month. That's the goal. May 15th, May 16th.
Hopefully people get based with this documentary.
And please, when it comes out, if you like it, please share it with people outside your normal Bitcoin group.
Subscribe it.
Yeah. It's for non-Bitcoiners too. It's a real adventure story. So yeah.
It's funny. The first time I watched it, I laughed and I cried. Well, I cried 4 times throughout the doc. Yeah. And I cracked up. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, it's an adventure, man. You'll see.
Hopefully you guys like it as much as we do. And I know I'll never forget, there was I met this Bitcoiner in Peru, and he told me, when you go see the people in MOTIV, there's going to be a before and there's going to be an after. And he met me before and after, and the change that you see is drastic. What we saw is, honestly, we kind of view, people will see the truth and the reality of the situation, that not everything is roses and butterflies. And life, obviously, like we're early.
Yeah,
we're still early. That's all I gotta say.
All right, I'm gonna share everything in the podcast note, guys, and I'm looking forward to watch it. And my last final question before you leave is, what team are you? Team ceviche or team lomo saltado?
Lomo saltado. I'm just not a seafood guy.
No.
So team ceviche.
Un ceviche, conchitas. Oof. No. I ate
team
like an
as well.
Animal. Now you guys
team
are making
ceviche as well. All right.
Yesterday I had a fake ceviche.
Fake ceviche. Oh, because it's all right.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, Juan.
Thanks, Juan.
No, thanks to you guys for sharing this. This is one of the most impactful stories that I have recorded here on the podcast. So thank you for sharing with all of us, guys. I know
please,
people are gonna love it.
People gotta go donate to MOTIV. Help them out because
motive.ngo. Check out their site and watch the doc when it comes out. You will be compelled to support what they're doing for sure.
Don't trust us. Verify it for yourself. If they can't, go to MOTIV. Go to Peru. Talk to Valen. He'll give you the tour so you can verify for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't believe what we're saying.
Yeah.
But that man is changing the world, and he's doing the best thing ever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And guys, see you next week. Ciao.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.